Bulvinaka, and welcome to the second episode of our program, Meet Your Members of Parliament or Meet Your MPs. And in this second episode, we have with us the Honourable Minister for Fisheries and Forestry, the Honourable Alitia Bainivalu. Bulvinaka, Madam, and welcome.
Bulvinaka.
Thank you for accepting our humble plea to be part of this program. Ma'am, firstly, can you tell us more about yourself, where you grew up, where do you hail from, your life as growing up as a child?
I'm from Nambalambala Saivo Indra, and I share maternal links to Navatu in the Kondrove. I was brought up here in Suva with my parents, and later on at 3 years old, I went with my grandparents to the village where I spent the other half of my childhood. I even attended the local primary school in the village, Saivo District School, and I spent class 1 to class 3 at Saivo District School before returning to complete my primary education here in Suva with my parents.
Growing up in the village, Madam, from that primary school level, then returning to the city, what was some changes you had to adapt to coming back home to the city, or the differences you saw then?
Thank you. Even though I stayed in the village with my grandparents, I would come often to Suva to visit my parents and my other siblings. My parents would often come to the village as well to see me. So I did not have to adapt as much because I was coming to Suva often, and we had regular bus services in Ra to take me to Suva during that time. So I didn't really miss out on a lot. Probably the fact that I missed the company of my parents and my older siblings.
Okay. Continue with your secondary school, Madam. When you came back to Suva, your primary and secondary, which schools did you attend?
Thank you. When I came to Suva, I attended St. Agnes Primary School, and then later on I attended Andira Kambau School.
And then right to university, I understand, from Andira Kambau?
Yes, university, attended University of the South Pacific, and then upon completion of university, I worked at the Ministry of Fisheries and Forestry then. Back then it was Ministry of Fisheries and Forestry, and now it's just two different ministries. So I went to work at the ministry. I served in the ministry for 8 years, and I was given an opportunity to study in Japan through the government of Japan scholarship, which was administered by JICA. I went abroad to further my studies and to undertake a master's program in marine science at the Tokyo University of Marine Science and Technology.
In those years of experience with the ministry then and having to go and study in Japan, do you feel, ma'am, that has contributed to your position today? You would have known a lot knowledge then with the Ministry of Fisheries and Forestry. Today, being at the helm of the ministry as the Honourable Minister, learning what the things that you learned then to today, how has that helped you with your work as Minister?
Thank you. They always say that, that when you leave to go overseas, whether for studies or for other purposes, you get exposed. Exposed to, to the different country that you go to. A lot of things I saw in Japan. I studied in Tokyo in terms of fisheries, how they operate their Ministry of Fisheries in Tokyo, Japan, as compared to Fiji. This was probably due to the geographical location and what the ministry was targeting there in Japan as compared to what we have here in Fiji. But when I went for my studies in Japan, my contract at the ministry had also expired. and I was interviewed for the position, but unfortunately I didn't get my position. It was given to somebody else. So when I returned from Japan, I was not returning to the ministry as a staff. I was actually coming back to no employment. So before leaving Japan and when I arrived in Fiji, I was applying to the ministry, mostly to the ministry, trying to get back to the ministry because coming back from studies and having studied in Japan and having upgraded my qualification, I felt that I could now contribute more to the ministry as compared to when I was a staff there before I left for further studies.
How long did you wait before you got back into the ministry, or did you find other jobs while applying?
Thank you. While I was applying, I was shortlisted for a few interviews, but my application was mostly unsuccessful. I did not get an opportunity to work at the ministry at that time when I returned from completing my studies in Japan. I looked for other opportunities because at one point I was a bit tired of staying at home. It was 2 months at home, and I felt that I needed to work. I needed to go back to work. So I applied elsewhere, but I was thankful at that time. And I appreciate the fact that I was given an opportunity to be a research officer here at the Leader of Opposition office, working for the opposition members back then. So I worked there for 2.5 years before the 2022 general elections.
Okay. I understand your husband is a school teacher. In this time you were applying, or were you and your family in Suva, or were you out of Suva?
Thank you. Before I left for further studies in Japan, my husband was teaching at Lakemba in Laos. So he was there with my 2 older boys, and I was working in Suva. So when I went to Japan for further studies, my husband was still in Lakemba in Laos with my 2 older children, but the other 3 of my children were here in Suva with my parents. They were all there at one stage, and then I think my mother went over to Lakemba and brought the other 2 older siblings. My youngest was 3 months old when I left for Japan for studies.
So they all stayed back while you were in Japan studying,
Yes,
madam?
they all stayed back.
And how many years were you in Japan?
I was in Japan for almost 3 years because in 2020, because of COVID, I had to stay in Japan longer. But I visited Fiji about 2 times while I was away on studies. And when I returned, my youngest daughter had turned 3.
Wow. How did you manage being away from family, being the mother, missing your children?
I think it's the important thing is having a very good support system. I was thankful to my husband for being very supportive of my studies in Japan, going for further studies and looking after my 2 older children. I'm also thankful to my parents for looking after my 3 little ones, because they lived with them here in Suva. Thankful to them and to my siblings who would also look out for them. I'm also thankful to my extended family for looking after my family here while I was away. And I think one thing that constantly connected us while I was away was prayer. I think that's something that we sometimes often take for granted, praying and the power of prayer and what it can do, for situations like that. And also because, I was away and we'd probably connect also most times on messenger call. Back then it was messenger call or Skype. So we tried to keep in touch as much as possible.
Ma'am, now that you're a minister, how do you juggle between family as a wife, as a mother, and as the head of the ministry?
Thank you. When I'm not traveling, when I'm at home, I usually drop my kids off at school. That's how I try and play my role as a mother still. I wake them up in the morning, help prepare their breakfast and their lunch, and I drop them at 7:30 in the morning. And I also organize my schedule at work that I pick them up at 3:30 from school. So I'll pick them from school, I drop them at home, and then I go back to work if I need to go back to work. So that's the program that I've set up for myself and for my children. And I've also designated Thursdays as family day. So on Thursdays, I try to not have any schedules on Thursday, so that we spend Thursday afternoon together, whether we play board games together, we go out and eat, or we just, hang around as a family, including my husband. I also try and tell my husband to avail himself on Thursday evening, so that we get to spend it together at home as a family. It's very important, because I know that my kids are growing up, and I don't want to lose these intimate years of their life. I was away for almost 3 years, like I said. I just hope that through our engagement and through the time we spend together, we get to enjoy as much time together as a family as we can. And for cooking, I have a relative at home who usually cleans and cooks for us, but that does not stop me from cooking or preparing meals for my children. I try to cook on Sundays at home. I try to cook when it's my children and my husband's birthday. I don't want them to, I still want them to get used to my cooking and not, forget how I used to cook with them before. So those are some of the things that I try to do to stay connected to my children and to my family, and to ensure that I carry out my role as a mother and as a wife at home.
Madam, you had mentioned you worked for the opposition leading to the last elections. Did that in any way have an influence on you to stand for the last elections and become a politician?
Thank you. So when I worked when I worked as a research officer at the Office of the Leader of Opposition, it was a new working environment for me, because I had my fisheries background and I was learning things that were completely new for me. I was writing speeches, I was writing reports, I was engaged with the opposition MPs, and I was even working on the budget, and how the budget is devised, the process leading up to the budget process. So, all these were very new to me. So at one point I thought to myself, this is an added knowledge for me. I already have my fisheries background, fisheries knowledge or fisheries qualification with me. What I'm learning here at the opposition office is entirely new. And this is an added, bonus for me. I would always say. I never set foot in chambers till the day I was sworn in as a member of parliament. I would just come as far as the corridors of chambers to deliver the printouts or speeches or anything that the members would want. So that was how far I went. And then whilst I was working there, it did not stop me from trying to apply back to fisheries, because deep down in my heart, I still wanted to go and work for fisheries, because when I went for further studies, the ministry had sent me to go and study under the recommendation of the permanent secretary. So I was excited coming back, and even though I worked at the opposition office, I still had that want of wanting to go back to fisheries, because what I had learned, I wanted to to impart that knowledge, to share that knowledge, and to just give back to fisheries on what I had learned in Japan while away on studies. But unfortunately, that opportunity was not given to me. But when I was working at the Leader of Opposition office, I was asked by someone at the Leader of Opposition office, and he said to me, Alitia, you're working here Do you see yourself as running for the upcoming elections? And for me, I mean, I thought that was a
Out of the blue.
out of reach question, something that I can never achieve. And I just said to myself, I'm working as a research officer. To think of myself as running for election and, becoming an MP, like the current opposition's MP that I'm serving at the opposition office, was just something that was beyond my imagination. And I said, no, why do you ask? And he says to me, no, because I've been observing you working here. You familiar with the parliamentary process. When we have parliament sitting, you are familiar with what happens during parliament sitting, even for the processes leading up to parliament sitting, where we prepare questions, motions or petitions and submit to a table's office to be scrutinized before it's finalized and appears on the order paper as the order paper for the upcoming parliament sitting. So, this person says to me, I've been observing you, you're familiarizing yourself with the parliamentary process. Secondly, you're a very qualified individual. You've just come back from Japan and had attained your Master's of Science degree. He also mentioned to me that, your province in Ra, no one made it to Parliament during the 2014 and the 2018 elections. So we have not had anyone from Ra since the 2014-2018 elections. And you've been from Ra and you've been a woman, and you can see that there's a very low women representation in Parliament. Think about it. Think about it. Go to your husband. You talk about it, and then you come back and tell me.
Right.
So that was where it started.
Okay.
That was how the idea came into my mind. I spoke with my husband about it, and he was quite excited about it. But the fact that it was very new for me. I had not been in politics before, even though I was working in the office with the politicians. Was something new for me. Yeah, something new for me, and something that I had not done before in my whole life. So it was quite an adventure, I'd say.
Now that you're in the House, you're in Parliament, I'm sure your work flows because you're familiar with the speeches, with the order.
I was also appointed as a government whip. Right. I'm also the government whip. So my preparing the questions and all the parliamentary business is something that's not new to me. But I'm happy that I was given the opportunity to be the government whip, in that I can, work on our submissions, but only from a different angle, not from government. Before I was doing it from an opposition perspective, but now I get to do the same thing that I was doing in opposition office, but just from a government side.
What are some challenges you meet, Madam, as an MP? Are there some challenges that you encounter or have encountered during these past years?
I would not say that I have encountered the challenges, because that was a question that was asked to me on a survey for those of us who were traveling to Melbourne, for the Talno session on Commonwealth women. So that was something that I found difficult to answer, the challenges. Not that I can rule it out, but I think the challenges for me would my leaving home and traveling overseas, or doing my local travels, where I'm away from my family, from my husband and from my children, and not being able to attend some of the important dates for them, like their parent-teacher interview, their CAPS meeting, or my son's cadet event in their school. So I think those are some of the challenges, that comes with the work. Not that I'm complaining, but but those are some of the things that I face, when I go out to do my work, whether I'm away overseas or I'm away on my local tours. I miss out on those important events. But I'm always thankful that my husband, like I said, is very supportive of my work. So he fills in the gaps for me. He attends and he goes to attend, these important events on my behalf for our children.
I see. How do you make it up to your children if you've missed the events?
Okay, if I've missed the event, usually when they come back, they'd always want a treat, whether they want to go to the movies or they want to go and eat at McDonald's or Burger King, or just riding around in the car with me and just going around Suva City or going into the park. Just being with me is good enough for them. So I try to minimize my engagements. The weekend I'm back, just so that I can spend time with them.
Right.
Yeah. And if I need to go anywhere, when I'm back, if I really need to go anywhere, I try to take them with me, so that they can accompany me, and at the same time, I get to spend the time with them as well.
Okay. Share to us some projects that you've achieved.
Some of the achievements that have been achieved since becoming Minister for Fisheries and Forestry. I was appointed on the 28th of June of 2024. So towards the end of 2024, I managed to pass the Aquaculture Act towards the end of 2024 here in Parliament, and also Cabinet had also approved the National Fisheries Policy, which is now been in use by the Ministry. Also, we had also finalized the Aquaculture Development Plan. So those are some of our key documents that was achieved in 2024, and I thank the staff of the Ministry of Fisheries for their hard work and their commitment to enabling this achievement or this milestone to be achieved in 2024. In 2025, Parliament passed the Fisheries Amendment Bill of 2025, and also towards the end of last year, Parliament passed the Forestry Act of 2025. So those are quite some achievements that was made from the ministry, and again I thank the staff for their commitment and their continued dedication in allowing this to happen. For this year, we are hoping to debate and pass the Mahogany Bill, which is currently with the Standing Committee on Justice, Law and Human Rights, and we are hoping to debate and pass that bill in May of this year. So those are that's a very critical bill because it involves our landowners that own the mahogany plantations around Fiji. So that bill is important for them, and I know that they are looking forward to the passing of that bill because of the provisions and the amendments that have been made from the previous bill to what is now the mahogany bill, hopefully of 2026.
Madam, with all these bills, the acts that has been passed in the line of your duty, what approach do you take to ensure that the community, like the landowners for the Mahogany Bill, their plights are included?
Thank you. Prior to the tabling of the tabling of the bill in Parliament, we had done a consultation. We had done a consultation through the various divisions to enable the landowners to come forward, and make their submission or raise their voices with us on what they think should be included in the bill and what should not be included in the bill. Based from their, from their experiences, I know that the previous bill, not the previous bill, the bill that is currently valid now is the Mahogany Industry Development Act. So that is the bill that will be repealed once the mahogany bill is passed in Parliament. So we've done consultation, we've organized meetings with the landowners, just to ensure that their voices are heard and their voices and their pleas and their plights are reflected in the new bill.
Right. Okay. Share to us some good memories of visiting communities, villages, the hardships that you hear, the challenges from the people. How would you like to attend or address that?
Thank you. Like I had mentioned earlier, I was brought up in the village. So in my early years of growing up, I had first-hand experience, of growing up in a communal setting. Where we have our neighbors who are our relatives, and every second day, we'd get together to go fishing, to collect firewood and all that. So, at a younger stage, I had learned, living, with my relatives, living with the communities, living at a communal level. So that has given me a sense of appreciation. Appreciation in the sense that, I get to experience, I get to, appreciate when I go out to the communities and they raise, the challenges they face, and, they raise with me their problems. So it gives me, it challenges me, and it also helps me, to look for ways, to address their problems and the challenges that they face in the village, so that they too can enjoy, the services that that other people, people that live away from the villages enjoy. So in doing that, having that satisfaction alone, in addressing their challenges or their problems, having addressed it, it gives you that satisfaction that you are, that you are helping a community. Even listening to their request, is something. And then later on, when you ensure that whatever they've requested, has been approved, or has been facilitated, that's even a big achievement. And and it's a good feeling, to know that they've been assisted or their request has been facilitated. You get that feeling of satisfaction that that you've helped someone. And that alone is an achievement, I would always say. And, having that satisfaction that you've helped a community or that you've helped someone, in your line of work.
What's the feedback like from the communities?
Feedback from how their problems are addressed?
Yes.
Well, most of them, they are always happy. They enjoy, or they like the fact that that even if their request is not within my jurisdiction, I refer it to the relevant authorities or to the relevant minister. And, I do constant follow-ups, to ensure that, they are assisted or their request is, attended to, in a timely manner. And, even that alone, when they call or when I call them, just to give them an update of where their request is, even that is, they have that sense of satisfaction, that knowing that they are being cared for, that we do not, the requests do not fall on deaf ears, that probably somewhere down the line, their request will be facilitated and help will come to them. And it helps to just, call them up and then update them on the status of their application, rather than just receiving it and not doing anything about it. They themselves, they won't know, the status of the application, of where it has gone to. So I try to, call them up every now and then and just, update them on where their application is and how much more they will need to wait before their requests are finally facilitated and attended to.
So this is apart from your busy schedule as the minister and attending to your line of duty with your ministry, you still find the time to call them and give them an update.
Yes. Like someone very wise once told me, becoming a MP, is a calling. It's a calling to serve. So, you have to have that, that you have to have that heart and that eagerness to serve, in this line of work. Only then, you will really really find, or you really get to to find or to experience the work of a member of parliament.
Right.
You have to be willing to serve. You can't just expect to sit in your office and then you help people out there. There are people out there who need help, and then they can come to your ministry. They can come to your office.
Right.
You go out to them. And I think I'm always happy when I go and visit the communities, and it's an opportunity for me to meet them and to listen to their requests. And when I'm there out there in the community, I always remind them. I give them my telephone number. I usually give them my telephone number, and I always tell them that if they're ever in Suva, my office is located at level 3 Takayao building in Turek in Suva. If they're ever in Suva, they can drop by and come and see me. They don't need an appointment. As long as they are there, if I'm in Suva, I try to attend to them. I try to come from wherever I am to come and meet them. Right. And that's the same thing that I always tell my voters in Ra, my relatives from Ra. If you're in Suva, please drop by and come and see me, if you need to come and see me. Because I know for my relatives in Ra, they travel long distances to come to Suva, and most of them have to catch a carrier from the villages to the main road, and then they catch a bus to Suva. So I always try and make time to meet them, and of course other people who are willing to meet me, who travel from Vanua level, from the interior Viti level. I always make the time to meet them here in my office if I'm in Suva. But when I'm away overseas, my phone also is available. If they call me, I can attend to their call and probably direct my offices in the ministry to attend and facilitate their requests if I'm not here in Suva.
Madam, just before we wrap up, we are approaching the final bit of this program. Before we wrap up, just lastly, what are your hopes for Fiji's future, and how do you see your role contributing to that vision? Okay.
Some hopes for Fiji's future would be that people understand and exercise their freedom of expression responsibly. I know that the government has given that opportunity where we can express ourselves freely, but I would ask that when we express our feelings, or when we express ourselves, that we do it responsibly, do it in a manner that is respectable and that is mindful of one another, because we all are different. We all have our families. We all have people who are counting on us, and I think it's very important that we deliver our opinions responsibly and in a respectful manner. So that's something that I hope Fiji will be like in the future. That people are able to express themselves responsibly and respectfully. Yeah, my other hope is that we'll all continue to live, in unity, in peace and harmony with our neighbors, with the other ethnic groups that have now called Fiji their home, because through living in unity, in peace and harmony, we can create a better future. We can create a better future, not only for us but for our children and the future generation.
Right. Sorry, madam. Just your last advice to our women. We've just gone past the International Women's Day, and there were statements from our honorable MPs about the need to increase women's representative in Parliament. Can you please make a comment on that?
That is important, to increase women representation in Parliament. From what we have seen in this term of Parliament, there are only 5 women here in Parliament. So of the 55 women that applied in the last election, only 5 made it to Parliament. I think the important thing is that women should support other women.
Right.
We should be seen as supporting other women and building up other women. Because I think that's very important, and also once we identify or once you wish to step up, and be probably a candidate for next election, we as women, we can rally behind those who have put their hand up, and support them. Yeah, we should also ask that of our men, that they also support our women, and that is the only way that we can increase the participation of women in parliament, is that if we women support other women, and also our men, we support, if men also support women, and their participation in elections, that could give them chances, that could increase their chances, of making it to parliament in the next parliamentary term.
Madam Minister, thank you so much for your time. That brings us to the end of this program of Meeting Your MPs. Next week we have the Honorable Rinesh Sharma in this program. Thank you for joining us. Till then, goodbye.